Hello and welcome to the two-man power trip of wrestling. I am your host, JP John Poz. With me today is a very special guest. He is a former WWE referee for over 22 years. He's in the New England Wrestling Hall of Fame. He is Mr. Jimmy Korderas. Jimmy, welcome to the two-man power trip.
Well, thanks for having me, John. I very much appreciate it. And yeah, as a matter of fact, the plaque is up there for New England Hall of Fame, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. Any Hall of Fame, right? It's
Yeah.
pretty cool to be in.
Absolutely.
So what have you been up to? What's been going on?
Well, after the refereeing career, I went to, believe it or not, I took a course in broadcasting. Took a little course in broadcasting, and then I met a fellow by the name of Arda Ocal, who for a little short time was Kyle Edwards in the WWE.
Yes.
And he was working at the Score Television Network up here, which was the network that aired WWE broadcasting up here. And he asked me to come on his Sirius radio show called Right After Wrestling at the time. And I said, yeah, sure, I'd love to. So basically, we watched the show at the studio, and then afterwards we went live on XM radio. He said, and he just said, hey, do you want to do this as a regular gig? I said, man, I'd love to. So after that, I became a regular there. Then I got on the television show, which was kind of cool. And then WWE switched partners. They went from the Score Television Network to Sportsnet up here in Canada. And they adopted Right After Wrestling, but only they changed the name to Aftermath. And I did that for, 9 years or so. Before that went on furlough, for lack of a better term, because of the pandemic we're under. So, and now I've got some other things in the works. Who knows? Stay tuned, because you never know where you're going to see me next.
Is it back opened up again, Canada, or are you guys still locked in? Locked down?
It's opening up. We're in stage 2 right now. They're about to go into stage 3 of opening up and allowing more businesses to open and that sort of thing. But still not 100%. Look, I'd rather be cautious than But then again, after this past weekend, we have a large Italian population here in Canada. So after the Euro victory, there's a lot of partying going on up here.
Oh, yeah. They just beat England, right? In the finals, in the Euro Cup. Yeah.
Yeah.
I could see that being a crazy place. I think I saw Brett was doing a signing, but I was like, wait a second. How could he be doing a signing in the States if they're locked down in Calgary? So he might not be doing that signing then.
No, he probably is. I think it's the travel is essential travel. Like basically, if you're going to work, they're allowing you to go through and stuff like that sort of things. And I think vacation thing, it's kind of weird. Trying to categorize it as what do you consider essential travel?
Right. Because then it could be anything. Yeah, definitely.
Exactly. Yeah.
So was it weird for you to kind of obviously be in the WWE for 22 years, but then be covering it for, like a sports station for those 9 years? Was that like a kind of a different transition for you?
Yeah, it is completely different because in the world of wrestling, the referee, as I like to put it, is invisible until he needs to be visible, or she needs to be visible. So you're kind of like a supporting actor helping the talent tell their story, not be part of, you know what I mean? So now on television, when you're analyzing and breaking down, you're in the forefront and you're giving your opinion, which is what it is. It's my take on things, and people may agree and they may disagree, and that's okay. It's okay to disagree. We don't have to all like the same thing, right? But I gave my take. It took me a while to get used to and to loosen up a little bit and relax and feel comfortable giving my honest opinion, because like I said, the Score and then Sportsnet were, for lack of a better term, business partners with the WWE. I wanted to critique them honestly and fairly, but I also didn't want to tick anybody off, if you know what I mean. So that's the balance. It's okay to be critiquing as long as you're not crapping on everything, if you know what I mean. Like just to be, just to take digs just for the sake of taking digs, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting though, and not to pick on her, but like Aubrey Edwards, she wears, like, sometimes she says she got the red lipstick, sometimes she's doing stuff with her nails. Is that wrong to do though? Because you're not supposed to be noticed, or is that who cares? Like that means nothing.
That doesn't bother me as much as the mannerisms in the ring and how the referees conduct themselves in the ring. And I don't know if you pay attention to some of my ref and rants that I do.
Oh yeah.
And I hate to rank on the brothers and sisters in stripes, but I do not like when the referees draw attention away from the talent when they're not supposed to. It's okay if what you're doing in the ring is part of the story being told and you're supposed to be noticed, but doing things and taking attention away from where the attention should be focused on, that I'm not a big fan of. I don't look really at the nails and the lipstick and stuff. I'm looking more at the movements and stuff like that, and purposely getting themselves in the shot. Like yes. look at me and overreacting to things. That's the stuff that bothers me the most.
It seems like AEW, obviously way more so than WB, has a problem with that. It for sure. The guy Rick Knox is like all over the place. Bryce Remsburg's all over. It's just they're too engaged and too noticed.
Exactly, that's my point. And there has to be that fine balance. You want to look like you're doing your job and paying attention to what's going on, but also, like I said, you don't want to detract. Like, let me put it this way, and I hate to rank again on people, but sometimes when I watch Bryce and there's a big move performed on someone in the ring, he's selling the move almost as much as like he took it.
Right.
You know what I mean? When a guy gets punched in the face or a girl gets punched in the jaw, it's okay for the referee to go, ooh, that looked like it hurt. Like subtle. It's okay to do that. It's okay to react. But if you go like this and you go, ooh, and you're grabbing your own face like you got punched, that's a little bit over the top. I get it. Everybody says, well, you have to project to the people in the back so they can understand. The people in the ring, the talent that's telling the story projects to the back of the room. You help do that with your mannerisms, with your 1-2 and holding up 2 and whatever, but you don't have to sell the move like you took it.
Right. Yeah. And I always notice too, even in other promotions, they do like, not WB though, other like indie leagues and stuff. The ref does the shocked face, like, like on the, like, why would a ref ever do that? Let's say like a basketball ref, Michael Jordan hits a shot. Would that ref ever go, oh wow, he hit the shot? You know what I mean? It's a weird reaction to have if you're a referee.
Yeah, and I know, and I get it, and I don't know if you heard the interview a little while back when Bully on Busted Open kind of called. He didn't really call him out, but he asked Tony Khan about this situation with the referees and taking attention away and not paying attention to rules and that sort of stuff. And one of Tony's answers, and I don't know Tony. From what I understand, he's a great guy, and I wish. Contrary to popular opinion, I do wish AEW well. I want them to succeed because if they succeed, then the business as a whole succeeds. Yes. But for him to say that our fans don't care whether the referees are, that just, look, you keep saying we're bringing pro wrestling back, and part of pro wrestling is the referees are an authority figure that help tell the story, and there are rules involved, and they should be enforcing those rules.
Yeah. He might have been a little rude to Bully, but
I'll let that, I'll let people judge for themselves. I just thought his answer was very aloof, and he didn't answer Bully's question, if that makes sense. Look, to say that your fans don't care, I get it. That hardcore audience has bought into their product, and that's fine. That's absolutely fine. And as we saw with the live crowd in Texas this week, they were that crowd so alive helped add to the show.
No doubt, yeah.
I mean, it made the show feel that much more special. It got the viewer at home invested, and that's what you want. But at the same time, to say that, we don't care whether the referees are really enforcing. No, come on. It's an entire package has to make sense. Let's put it that way.
It almost came off as if, like, not that he didn't know enough, but he wasn't smart enough to the psychology of the business to answer Bully Ray correctly. He totally sidetracked it. He didn't realize. Maybe he doesn't realize the psychology of it. You know what I mean? Like maybe he doesn't understand the business as well as he thinks he understands it.
That could be too. But the smart answer would be to kind of avoid any further discussion. Is, you know what, Bully? You may have a point there. You know what? We'll look into it. And as they say on that show, we'll see if we can tighten the screws a little bit. Leave it at that. We'll work. It's something we will look into. That's all. And then you can move on from there. But to dismiss it like, it's nothing. Nobody cares about that stuff anyways. Yeah, they do.
It's funny, these little chinks in the armor, though. They got to clean that kind of stuff up. Like I always say to a bunch of the guys, I always say, man, they always miss the hard camera. A lot of the guys don't know where the hard camera is. I can't believe it's like shocking. I can't believe that because I know Triple H and WWE because they had a lot of backstage. They were saying he was like, guys, the hard camera's here. He's like explaining to everybody like where to look, what to do, how to react. That's the camera. That's the camera. Like AEW, a lot of times they don't know where the hard camera is. I'm shocked by that.
I don't know if it's they don't know where it is or it's not consciously drilled into them. Like in WWE, like you said, they do emphasize the hard camera, and even the referees have to work a different style. Like when you're working a house show, you work the entire ring, you're working the circle. When you're working television, the hard camera is this way, you're working the horseshoe, as we used to call it.
Oh, okay.
And also be mindful of the handhelds down at ringside. You don't want to interfere, but at the same time, you don't want to look like you're trying to avoid them. It's again, that art form of working the horseshoe without looking like, try not to cross in front. At times you may have to, because of positioning in the ring or where the talent is, but you keep that to a minimum and try and work that horseshoe and do your best to be mindful of the hard camera, especially the talent too. And when these young guys come up and they start working television, especially, big time television, like they are on TNT or TBS or USA or even Fox, and they're not, used to working with a hard camera, it doesn't enter their mind. Whereas, and again, not that I'm trying to, put the WWE over, but they do drill into their talent. This is a hard camera. This is who we're playing to first and foremost. This is the audience. Yes, the people in the crowd count as well, but we got to let the people at home know what's going on too. And that's who you're kind of playing to. That's why all the promos are directed towards the hard camera.
Yeah. Yep. Not Matt Jackson on AEW the other night. He was faced this way. It was weird. They had to try to get the camera around when he was talking to Adam Page. I don't know if you noticed that he had a slight turn and they hurried to get the camera this way so they could see his face. I was like, oh man, he didn't realize that's the hard camera. Like, oh man, this little thing is crazy.
The other thing too is, on Wednesday night for Dynamite, their hard camera at Daly's place in Jacksonville was across from the stage. So that might have been a little bit of a, you get comfortable with it being in a certain position. Like for us at WWE, when I was there, when you're looking at the hard camera, when you're looking at it from this way, the ramp and the stage usually came when you're looking at your television from the left. So when we're in the ring heading towards the ring, we always knew that the hard camera was on the right and worked accordingly. Sometimes depending on the venue, the hard camera would be on the opposite side. So, we'd be entering this way and your hard camera's on the left and 90% of the time it's on the right. So, you automatically think to work that way. And then you got, oh no, the hard camera's on the other side this week,
Yep.
So that's probably what happened with Matt. He's so used to having the hard camera across from the stage as opposed to the side.
Justin Credible, obviously a good buddy of mine, he was saying that Vince used to like beating everybody's head. Like, make sure you play to the millions over there, not the thousands over here, and always pay. So he said before the show, he used to go out and make sure. And a lot of the guys, he said, pointed out anyway, but he said just to make sure, okay, hard camera's on the left today. Hard camera's on the right. He would make sure he knew where the hard camera was. Because, when you're selling the move or, let's say the guy gets in a rest hold, he knows Jim Ross is going to talk. So face this way. And
when the hard camera, because like I said, 95% of the time it was when you're going out towards the ring, it's on your right. When it was on the left, they'd put a sign on Gorilla before you walked out, hard camera left.
Wow, really?
Yep. It was a reminder, it was, people say, wow, you don't have to put, sometimes you got to, it's a smart move, I think anyways. And by the way, since you're talking about Justin Credible, next time you talk to him, please give him a hello from me. One of my favorite people. I love Justin.
Oh, awesome. We'll do. Yeah. I'm talking to him tomorrow. Nice. Okay.
Oh, cool. Please give him my best.
Great guy.
Yes.
As far as we were talking about ref and rant a little bit, where did that kind of start? Where did that emanate from? You doing the ref and rant?
Okay, this is going to be funny. I was thinking, everybody's usually utilizing social media in different ways and trying to get out there a little bit. And I wanted to do something that was kind of fun. So, so my wife says, why don't you do like a 1 minute video? Because it's just a short little 1-minute video on what happened last night in wrestling. And I'm like, yeah, that's not a bad idea. And I could just critique or find something and try to make it fun. That's one of the things I try to do too, as well, is make it fun, give my honest opinion, but at the same time, not try to throw people under the bus and not bury people, but just have a little fun and give honest critique. Even even when a show is good one night, there are little things, and I just point out the little things that I might have done differently or something like that. So her idea was, do that. I'll film it for you. She's my camera person.
Nice.
And then we had to come up with, I want to come up with little gimmicks, like T-shirts.
There you go. Perfect.
There you go. The cheap plug there for the Ref and Rant T-shirt. That's at ProWrestlingTees.com. Look at that. I learned that from Mick Foley. Get your cheap plugs in there. And then she made this little ducky for me and painted it with the little ref thing. So it's a ref and duck. You know what I mean? And then we needed a name for it. So, hashtag Ref and Rant. But the origin of that came from my wife, believe it or not. It was her idea.
With those ref and rants, obviously, not you're hard on them, but you're very honest. You know what I mean?
I try to be, yeah.
Yeah.
No, again, like I said, I try to give honest critique, regardless of whether it's WWE, AEW, or whoever it might be. The funny thing is that, and I don't want to get into the divide. There seems to be a divide with the audience today, a crowd. You're either with AEW or you're against them, or you're with WWE or you're against them. No, why can't we just be with everybody? Like I have friends at both companies. I have friends at Impact Wrestling that I want to see succeed and do well. I have friends at MLW. I have friends in NWA. I want all the companies. I want the business as a whole to succeed and everybody to do well. But regardless of what company it is, if I see something that I say, there's a little thing right there that I think that could have been done better, I'll point it out. That's all it is.
Yeah, definitely. It just seems like there definitely is a divide, and people like, oh, well, I'm an AEW fan, I'm a WWE fan. It is funny that they kind of separate. You could be both. Like Monday Night Wars, hey, I'm flicking channels. I'm watching WCW and WF. I'm going to both shows. If WCW is running the Spectrum and WWE is running the Wachovia Center, I'm going to both.
No, I hear you, and it's funny because regardless of what people will tell you, at Monday Night Raw, they are watching. Back in the day, they were watching what was going on Monday Nitro, and vice versa. Down there, they're watching. They're paying attention to see what's going on Raw. What about the famous line? Oh, Raw is taped this week, and on this is the week that Mick Foley wins their world champion. You know what I mean, and that stuff. Yep. But it worked against them because then all of a sudden, oh, really? But it was a war then, and I think people were so enamored with it back then that they're trying to create one now. And it doesn't need to be a war. Just enjoy.
Yeah. And Shivani said, obviously the line was fed to him, but he said, that'll put some butts in seats.
Right. Yeah.
and it did. 800,000 people flipped over and never came back. Yep.
Exactly. And it put butts on their couches. That's for sure.
Yep. I think it was like WWE only ever won 1 quarter rating after that. It's talking about quarter hour. They never won a Monday Night War, but a 1 quarter rating after that in the year or 2 years that they were on after.
Yeah.
Not good.
There went the 83 weeks. That's for sure.
Yes. Yeah.
Speaking of cheap plugs, I got to take a sip as well from this. Again, my wife had this made for me. She's awesome, man. Let me just put it this way. I outkicked my coverage. I'll put it that way.
Nice. That's what you got to do. Yes, we get it. So, we were talking about WWE, obviously, and you're 22-year vet. How'd you get in originally? I guess all the way back in 1987. How'd you break into the WWF?
Actually, just to, not to correct you, but I actually got in working with Jack Tunney in the office up here in Canada in 1985. I started reffing in February of 87. Now, what I used to be, what I guess for lack of a better term, a season ticket holder at Maple Leaf Gardens. I went down to the wrestling office, said, hey, listen, I come to every show. Is it possible to get the same ringside seats to every show? So I got 2 tickets to every show, and a friend would come with me, whoever would come. But what I would do is I would take pictures at the shows. And back then, I don't know if you remember, the old Maple Leaf Gardens used to have a ramp that went level with the ring
Yes.
on the
Epic.
entranceway.
Yes, yes.
I was right second row, right beside that ramp. So when the guys would come out, I had perfect pictures while they're standing there posing, doing their things. But what I would do is there was a film place up here back then called Direct Film where you double your prints for $1, double your prints for $1. So I would get a set of prints made for me, and I'd make a second set of prints, and I would go to the next show and sell them for $2 a pop.
Nice.
And it helped.
There.
Yeah, a little bit of profit and help fuel my habit. Paid for the tickets, paid for the parking, that kind of stuff. But the guy that worked for Jack Tunney, Elio Zarlenga, I didn't know he worked for Jack Tunney. He comes up to me and he goes, "Hey, can I see your pictures?" I said, "Sure." He says, "How much are they?" I said, $2 each. "How many would you like?" He says, "None, because you can't do this." And I said, "What are you talking about?" He says, "You can't sell these pictures. It's not." He started talking about copyright stuff, and I'm like, "Oh, why? Who are you?" And he told me who he was. I'm like, "Oh, But he was a cool dude. He said, "Listen, I'll tell you what. Take your pictures. If you want to go down the street a little bit and sell them, I won't bug you. Just don't do it right in front of the place. You're doing it right in front of Maple Leaf Gardens, right?"
Yeah.
I said, "Okay, I got you, no problems." And then there was an old promoter up here called the Wild Man, the Bear Man, they used to call him. And he used to run shows at local or spots. And I ran into Elio at those shows, and we started chatting. And he said, "You know what? You take good pictures. Let me talk to Jack and see if I can get you, maybe you can help me out and you can be inside ringside taking pictures and stuff like that." I said, "Oh, cool." So he introduced me to Jack, and Jack said, "Well, we don't need another photographer, but we'll find something for the kid to do." So I became the guy that ran the errands and did all the stuff that needed to be done. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Okay, it'd be show day, and I'd be at Maple Leaf Gardens early that afternoon, and Jack would hand me the keys to his Fleetwood. Go to the airport and pick up Andre the Giant and Timmy White. Go to the Marriott. And I'm like, okay. And I'm trying to act cool, and in my mind, I'm going, go pick up Andre the Giant. Oh my goodness, you know what I mean? Go pick up Hulk Hogan, and
yeah,
awesome. So that's how it started, and then. Here in Toronto, they used to run Maple Leaf Gardens every 3 weeks. But on Mondays, they used to tape 3 weeks worth of Wrestling Challenge in Brantford, Ontario, which is about an hour, 20-minute drive from Toronto. And then Tuesday nights, they'd do Superstars in Poughkeepsie. So they'd fly from Toronto to New York. So myself and Elio would drive minibuses. I'd take the heels, or he'd take the heels, and I'd take the baby faces. It alternated. But usually I like taking the heels, but anyway, they were more fun. So we drive back and forth, and did that for a little while, and then Pat comes up to me and he says, "Have you ever thought about possibly becoming a referee?" And I said, "No, Pat, I never thought of it." Because in your mind you're thinking, "I'd love to do the wrestling gig, right?"
Yeah.
Yeah. And I said, "No, but that sounds kind of cool." So he went to Jack. He said, "Jack, we got the kid here. He's here all day. He waits around for the show to finish and then take the boy." He says, "Why don't we use him during the show? We can make him a referee." And Jack says, "Do you really want to smarten the kid up?" And Pat goes, "He's in the locker room with the boys. How much smarter do you want to get? I mean, he knows what's going on, kind of thing." So he goes, so Pat tells me, he says, "Go get yourself black sneakers, black pants, a blue dress shirt, and a black bow tie, and carry it with you."
Right?
Yep.
Okay.
And carry it with you all the time. I said, "Cool." So I went and got that stuff, but I wasn't smart enough to start asking questions of all the guys, like all the refs, and say, "Hey, to learn."
Right.
So one day, it was February of '87. Chief Jay Strongbow was the agent, and he comes up to me and says, "Jimmy, you got your ref gear with you?" And I said, "Yes, I do, Chief." Oh, sorry, Jimmy Jam was his nickname for me. Chief had a nickname for everybody.
Right.
So he says, "Jimmy Jam, you got your ref stuff with you?" And I said, "Yes, sir, I do." He goes, "Okay, put it on your reffing tonight." And I didn't want to say, I didn't want to say, but I've never ref before or anything. "Okay, Chief, you got it. What match?" He said, "ST Jones versus Red Demon, who was Jose Luis Rivera." And I thought, at least, SD and I were buddies. And I said, good, at least it's somebody I know. So I went to SD and I said, SD, I'm reffing your match. And I said, great. I said, I've never reffed a match before. I said, just stay close to me, listen to me, I'll talk you through it. And he did. And that was it. That was the baptism by fire.
Nice. Love it. Was Jack Tunney on the take, as Hogan used to love to say?
Well, I never witnessed it, but, there were rumors flying around.
Actually, I guess Ventura really said it. Hogan will always call him that no good Jack Tunney, actually.
Yeah.
He used to be that no good Jack Tunney, which made me as a fan, as a kid, always think, like, is Jack Tunney, like, he bad? Hulk is saying he's no good.
Yeah, that's, I'm used to the heels having problems with the authority figures.
Yep.
especially ones that are not technically a heel, like Vince was. Vince was a heel authority figure. But so for Hulk to say that no good Jack Tunney or whatever he said is kind of like that kind of throws you off, because Jesse Ventura is going to rank on all the baby faces.
Right. Of course. Yeah. He's on the take
Yeah.
Tunney. It's like, so yeah. But when Hogan said, you're like, wait a second, something is
Yeah.
up with Jack Tunney. How was Jack Tunney though? Really though, behind the scenes, how was he?
No, he was fair. He was fine. Quick story. Like I told you, one time he gave me the keys to his Cadillac, says, go up to the Marriott by the airport, pick up Andre and Timmy White. And I said, you got it. So I head up there and I call up to Andre's room and there's no answer. Then I call Timmy's room and I said, Timmy, it's Jimmy. I'm here to pick you and Boss up, which is what everybody called him. And he says, okay, I'll be down in about 10, 15 minutes. He says, Boss is probably in the bar. Just you'll find him there. I said, okay. So I go in the bar and I said, hey, Boss, here to take you and Timmy. Timmy's going to be down about 10 minutes. Okay, come on, have a drink. And then I'm like thinking, but Boss, I'm driving. It's okay, just have one drink. I said, I guess it's going to be. Nobody says no to Andre, right?
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean. So now a few drinks later, because like I said, I'm feeling a little bit. I'm not hammered or anything, but I'm feeling a little, just a little tipsy.
Yep.
And Timmy comes down and he goes, oh boy. He goes, do you want me to drive? I said, the only problem is if we pull up to the building and you're driving, I'm going home because I won't be working here anymore. So I ended up driving careful. I don't recommend it. Please do not, think about doing it. I was like 10 miles under the speed limit, just carefully driving my way down there. And, Timmy was sitting beside me, which was cool. And Andre had the whole back seat to himself, a Fleetwood Cadillac. So, and we get down to the building and Timmy just said, stay away from everybody. I said, okay. So we walk in the building, but I had to give Jack his keys back. So I had Jack his keys back and I go, here you go. Here you go, Jack. And as I go to walk away, he goes, Jimmy, come here. He looks at me and goes, have you been drinking? And I went, and I didn't answer him. And he goes, was Andre in the bar? I went, he said, and he cornered you, didn't he? And I went, I still haven't answered any of the three questions yet,
Yeah.
And he goes, go in my office. There's some coffee there. Go drink some coffee before any of the agents see you. And I said, oh, wow. And he talked to me later and gave me the old, I get it. You got to be careful, blah, blah, blah. But, he could have just said, that's it. But he was really cool about that. And I had a good relationship with him. He was cool. And then when I started going to TVs in the States, and he was at the TVs, of course, as President Jack Tunney. And when it was close enough for him to drive, he would ask me to drive with him. So, here I am driving the Cadillac with President Jack Tunney and stuff like that down to Binghamton, New York for television, or something like that.
You're hanging out with the president, Jack.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
How was Andre? I mean, there's legendary stories. He drinks 80 bottles and all this crazy stuff, but how was he really? And are those stories legit?
The stories for the most part are legit. I mean, I've seen him pound back. You lose count. He was a bottomless pit when it came to drinking. I know a lot of the stories sound exaggerated, but trust me. And if Andre liked you, you were gold. I know he had issues with certain guys, but then he just didn't bother with them. You know what I mean? It was just like people. If you knew you were in Andre's not on his good side, for lack of a better term, you stayed away from him. It was funny because I remember Warrior. Andre was paired with Warrior for a little while there before his career ended. And there's the infamous story of they had a spot worked out where Warrior would hit the ropes and come with 3 clotheslines, and on the third one, Andre would tie himself in the ropes, the top and after the third clothesline. And Andre kept telling him, he says, "Listen, you're not hurting me, but you don't have to hit me hard. I will sell for you." And and Warrior didn't know any better, but he said, "Okay." So they're at a show, and here he comes, and he's flying 100 miles an hour, and he's bouncing off Andre. So he comes for the third one, and Andre just put his fist in that big ass, giant, boom, and Warrior runs right into it and goes down. And then they go to the spot again, and he says, "Run it again," and they do the spot, and Andre ties himself in the ropes, and while he's tied in the ropes, he looks over at Bobby Heenan and says, "He's learning." And it's just tremendous. But again, he did. It's not that he didn't he disliked Warrior. He just just listen to me.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess he didn't particularly like Savage as much either, or as the stories go.
That's what I kept hearing, but like stuff like that, I kind of, when I heard those things, I kind of stayed away from it. If it make, I like saying, I didn't want to be the guy that people went to. Hey, did you see that? Yeah. I understand he didn't like Savage, but I think it was more because Randy was a little overly protective of Liz, and I think that was part of the problem.
What was it like backstage at that era? Because we're talking about larger than life guys. We haven't really seen it in the business, really, maybe Attitude Era, but really since then, Hogan, Savage, Warrior, Piper, Andre. I mean, these are like gods amongst men. What was it like behind the scenes with these guys?
It was amazing. I mean, for me at least, anyways, from my point of view, here's this youngster, and I'm getting to see these legends of the business, and like I said, going and getting Andre from the airport and having drinks with him, and him calling me boss. Hey boss, come here, have a beer. Like that. That's the coolest thing ever. And having Piper, back when I had hair, Piper used to call me Gabe. His nickname for me was Gabe because he said I had hair like Gabe Kaplan. If anybody out there remembers Welcome Back, Kotter.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So I had a bit of a fuzz going on, and at one point I grew a mustache, and hey Gabe, and it's like, oh my goodness, here we go. So the mustache went away after that, but he still, but he was so awesome, and again, there was that competition. There were guys that, didn't like each other, but I don't want to say didn't like each other, but there was those rivalries that guys would get, whether it was jealousy, whatever the case may be. But for the most part, the guys got along. And at the end of the day, if it came down to it, the guys did stick up for one another, regardless of, the locker room was the locker room, and we look after each other. And at the core of it all, that's what it was like.
As far as you and coming along, like, you're a referee for the WWF. Who is training you, or you're literally training on the job?
Both. I'm asking advice from everybody. I mean, obviously Dave Hebner was there at the time. Who else was there? Oh my goodness. I got to work with some Canadian legends up here. Roger Francoeur, who recently passed away. I got to work with guys like Dick Worley and those guys, but mainly Dave and Earl when he came on board, and Joey Morella, because Joey had already, been there for a while. And so, and the one thing the main thing that I learned from them was you never stop learning. Don't ever think you know it all, because guess what? You don't. Right. But it was great being a sponge and being around those guys to pick that stuff up. Joey was so calm and cool with everything. He's Gorilla's son. He was Gorilla's son. God rest his soul. And then, getting to learn from him, getting to learn from David Hebner and Earl Hebner, and Timmy White as well. Danny David. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Gilberto Roman. There are some names. Guys I got to learn from. And every time I got back from the ring, I would ask them, did you see that? Did you see the match? Is there anything, and hey, when you're in the corners, try to be more turned to this side. Don't go on this side because you're blocking. We talked about it earlier. When you're on this side, you're blocking the hard camera. Stay to this side, and that kind of stuff. But man, it was amazing.
Great. Joey Morella, the legendary. Yeah. Shame what happened to him. Crazy.
Absolutely.
You had Mike Chioda come on a little bit after you as well.
Yeah. Mike is a fun dude. He's just Mike is just so he's so East Coast. It isn't funny. You know what I mean? It's just, he was boisterous. He had that voice. He had that rough, gravelly voice a little bit, and he was fun to be around. He was a lot of fun.
So when you're kind of going along and becoming a ref, what is the importance of ref? I feel like a lot of people either don't know or kind of misconstrue, like the importance of the referee, especially, let's say, could be championship match, could be Hogan match, just any match WWF. Like, what's the importance of the referee and really in wrestling?
I think I did it. I mentioned it a little bit earlier. The referee is part of the entire story. Obviously, the main part of the story is the talent in the ring. them wanting to tell the story. You're helping them tell their story and facilitating. And yes, we all know, I know people are like, well, does he have to be like a legit ref? Because we all know that wrestling is predetermined or blah, blah, blah. Listen, we are presenting this like it's an actual sport, right?
Right. Right.
So then the referee should be presented like he's enforcing rules as if it were now. Obviously, there's going to be little nuances and stuff like that. But again, you are not the center of attraction. You're helping them facilitate their story. And referees, whether it's mannerisms, however they react, as the match progresses and gets more intense, you are slowly upping your intensity level as well. But again, trying not to overshadow the intensity level that's going on with the talent. If you get my meaning with that, like, you know, a little more energy, a little more, like as the match progresses and the false finishes become more important, you know, you showing a little more excitement, not changing your cadence or your count, but you're looking, you know what I mean? Your excitement level is building with theirs, if that makes sense. So again, you're helping tell that story and being invisible until you need to be visible.
Is there a certain cadence that WWF likes to do? Because I just noticed that, like, through years of just watching wrestling, is it the individual ref or is it the organization? Because I noticed, like, even ECW, like 1, 2, 3, like they do a little bit of quick count. WWF seemed like more dramatic, 1, 2, and WCW sometimes is like in between where they're like 1, 2. You know what I mean? There's always a different cadence with the refs.
Right. Each ref has kind of their own cadence. For me, as long as it's that fine line, you don't want to be too fast. You don't want to be way too slow. I know sometimes guys are very slow on slower on false finishes to make it feel more dramatic. Yep. I'm not a fan of that. I like trying to keep it as consistent as possible, the cadence throughout the entire match. Whether, you know, sometimes you're a little bit higher as the match progresses because, like I said, as the match progresses and the intensity level and the excitement level raises, you're a little more energetic as well, kind of, so to speak. But it's not an edict from WWE other than not too fast. They will let you know you're counting too fast, you're counting too slow, somewhere in the middle or something like that. But there's no official set, this is the cadence. And I don't want to give it away here, but I'm starting to notice that a lot of referees now are also giving away false finishes. They have tells, and I don't want to say anything because when I was sitting with when SummerSlam was here in Toronto in 2019, I was sitting with the producer of our show, and we're watching, and he's getting up and he's going, "Oh, I thought that was it." I said, "I knew it." He said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Never mind." He said, then here comes another false finish. He says, "Oh, I thought that was it." And I said, "No." He says, "How did?" I said, "There's a tell." So he said, "What do you mean there's a tell?" So I said, "Do you really want to hear it?" He said, "Sure." So I told him what I was noticing as a referee, and he goes, "Now I can't unsee it." So that's why almost every referee out there has a little bit of a tell, including myself probably, if I go back and watch. But I will never point it out because once I do, then people, you know, now people watch people go out and say, "No, I got to go look for that tell." But
yeah.
I could have spoiled it already.
Watch those false finishes. We want to see, those tells.
Yeah.
A lot of the wrestlers have the tells. I don't know. Like, have you noticed that sometimes when the camera's there and there's going to be a false finish, they always have their eyes on the ref?
Mm-hmm.
Usually that means they're going to kick out if they're watching the ref, making sure. I feel like either the camera's in the wrong spot or they got to keep their eyes closed and just sense the 3 count. You know what I mean?
No, you can leave your eyes open, but just don't make it again, that's that art form of not making it obvious you're staring at the ref. Right. You know what I mean? And if it's really close, I've done it before in the past where, and I think it happened on ROH this past weekend where there was an actual 3 count, but the referee noticed the leg under the rope after the 3 count and then said, no, waved off the pin. If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong. I'm just trying to remember. But there were times where, it's 1, 2, and as I'm coming down for 3, he's kicking out at the exact same time. My hand did hit, but I wave it off like, no, he kicked out before I hit 3. You know, trying to add a little more drama to it. I don't know. It is an art form, and I don't think people realize that refereeing, there is an art to it, and think, oh no, he just goes in there or she, and they just stand around and count three and pretend like they're enforcing rules. No, uh, it's a lot more than that.
I have seen the 1, 2, and then they're like going like this, very slow motion because they know the guy's about to kick out, but that's a dead giveaway. The guy's about to kick, kind of ruins the momentum of the match.
Exactly. And it falls upon them. And we were told by Vince back in the day that if they don't kick out, count three.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And Vince says, you may have heat with the boys, but you won't have heat with me.
Who is exactly who you don't want to have heat with? Vince.
There you go.
The only one that matters.
Exactly.
So when you're kind of going along the WWF, you always hear that, okay, certain guys like to work with certain refs. Why is that? Is that a comfortability thing? How come certain guys want to work with certain referees?
I guess it is a comfort thing. You get comfortable working with guys. Like I said, you talked about cadence. Some guys, are comfortable with a certain cadence, and they feel that their referees do not take away from their match and help them. Where I've had instances where I've been requested for matches, and it's an honor. It really is for guys to be comfortable with you in the match. And even with The Office, like The Office, a lot of the three-way TLC matches with the Dudleys and the Hardys and Edge and Christian. P.S. Michael Hayes would always say, like to have you out there for that because you're always aware you're out of the way, but you're always making sure that the talent is okay and making sure certain objects get out of the way that need to get out of the way.
Right.
Here's one for you, like WrestleMania 17. While Jeff is hanging from the deal up there, and Edge is about to spear him in midair, you can see me down in the corner trying to drag the ladder out of the way so that Jeff and Edge don't land on it. Little things like that, you try to. Anyways.
Yeah, because that would have been deadly for Jeff.
So yeah. So I guess little things like that make them feel comfortable because you're trying to pay attention and you're looking out for them as well. Yeah.
With that, who else has requested you? I know the TLC matches. Like, is there somebody that would say, I always want to work Jimmy? Like somebody you can think of?
Well, two come to mind. Eddie, back in the day, we liked working with each other because we had a lot of fun with each other. We were buddies, but not only that, when he went through that lie, cheat, and steal phase, I don't know. We just had, it just felt right every time we kept doing, he tried to kind of do that fun stuff behind my back and that kind of stuff. Yeah. And there was even a time where, he's going over, I think it was a match with Matt Hardy, if I'm not mistaken, him and Matt Hardy. And I was being distracted at ringside. So I had my back to it, and Eddie would do something with the chair and then throw it to Matt and lay down, like kind of thing.
Yep.
And I went, and he looked at me and he goes, "What?" I said, No. He said, No. Something came to your mind. What is it? And I said, you throw him the chair and you lay down, but what if Matt were to throw the chair back to you? And he went, "What?" Oh, he says, "Okay, so instead of you laying down, you drop down to your knees like you're cowering in fear. But before I turn around, Matt throws the chair back to you, and I turn around and you've got it." And then we actually worked it out where he got the chair back, but then threw it to the side, left it in the ring. And when I turn around, I see the chair in the ring, and I'm like, "What the hell are you guys doing with this chair?"
Right.
So, but then after that, Eddie was like, "Jimmy, if you've got an idea, tell me, man. Please tell me." And I was like, cool. And of course, the biggest one for me was Edge and Taker at WrestleMania 24. I want to say we were in Little Rock, Arkansas, and I come into the locker room, and Edge comes over and says, "Hey, Jimmy, can I talk to you for a minute?" I said, "Sure." And he brought me outside, and we came in. And he said, "Taker and I would like to have you referee our match at WrestleMania." And I said, "Oh, wow." I said, "Unfortunately, it's not up to me, but I guess you guys have enough strokes." So he said, No. We are requesting you for the match. And I was like, that is the coolest thing ever. And honored, blessed. I mean, again, Edge, another good friend. and Taker, Taker, I'm a Taker guy. You know what I mean? Because he was our locker room leader, but never told anybody he was, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? I know you've heard this before, where Taker was a locker room leader, but he never. Yep. It was by default because everybody went to him. It's not like he came out one day and said, "Hey, I'm running this locker room. I'm the head of the table," so to speak.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
Everybody went to Taker for advice. Everybody went to Taker to ask him whatever. He was voted locker room leader, for lack of a better term, and to be requested for that match at WrestleMania, the biggest honor of my career.
That is great, and to be requested for it is even better. Did you know it was going to be the main event that night?
Once I found out it was for the World Heavyweight Championship, I did, and I was like, both nervous because now I'm going, this is the coolest thing ever, and at the same time, okay, you can't mess this up. You got to be there for these guys. And then we're going over the match the day before, and they're talking about bumping me in the match. Are you cool with that? Yeah, absolutely. And then just out of the blue, Taker, just how do you feel about taking a big boot? And I'm like, absolutely, whatever you want. You know what I mean? He says, unfortunately, that means, the big boot, you're going to be taken out of the match. I'm taking a big boot by The Undertaker at WrestleMania. Are you kidding me? Any day of the week.
Yeah, hell yeah.
But the funny thing is, I got to tell you this part too. So now we're discussing things, and but if Jimmy's out of the picture now, we need another ref to run down and do it. Who do we get? And everybody kind of looked at each other on the SmackDown roster. Referees, everybody looked at each other and kind of said at the same time, Charles, because they had to run like 75 yards down that darn ramp to get to the ring. And we thought the only guy who's going to make it without blowing up is going to be Charles. So
that is true. And I remember him sprinting like a madman.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And it just, again, added to the drama.
Yeah. He's going to get there. He's going to get there in time. And then,
exactly.
With, obviously that being a part of the main event at WrestleMania, Undertaker Edge is great. But then you were also, unfortunately, you were supposed to be the ref for the Owen Hart match, right? At Over the Edge, him and the Godfather. Man, just thinking about that and watching like Dark Side of the Ring covering it, just crazy to even be a part of that in the company is crazy. But to be in the ring when that happened, I mean, that's absolutely crazy to be a part of that unfortunate accident.
Yeah, it is definitely the saddest. And I'm thinking about myself at this time, and I keep, have to remind myself that, a family lost a father, a husband, a brother, man, that was definitely the hardest day for me in the business, in my career, being a part of that. And again, selfishly thinking that if it, not for a good piece of luck, I could have been a bigger part of that tragedy because I was so close to the fall.
Right.
And again, don't want to make this about me, but it was a horrible night. It was absolutely horrible. And God bless Owen. He was, you talk about nice guys and people. There isn't one person that didn't like him. He was, when you say nicest guy in the business, that fit him to a T.
Always seems like everyone has such great stuff, like either ripping stories, or that he never had to pay for anything. That he, everyone, whether he had rides on the road or whatever, that somebody was always there for him. Like he had friends everywhere. It seemed like. Absolutely,
and see, and that's the thing about the ribs. None of the ribs were ever malicious or harmful. It was fun, good-natured ribbing. It made you laugh. It was almost like, I want to say, actually, it was almost like a badge of honor to be ribbed by Owen.
Did you ever get ribbed by him?
A couple of times, yes. I got the same one that D'Lo got at the time, where I got I don't know how he did it, but he untied my ref shoe, my sneaker, one time in the ring during a match. And I still, to this day, don't know how he did it. I remember one time at a hotel, I get a phone call from the I thought was the front desk saying my credit card had been declined. I said, "What are you talking about?" "No, my credit card's fine." They said, no, sir, your credit card has been declined. You have to come down to the front. I said, "It's 2:30, man. Can we do this in the morning?" He says, "No, sir, we have to take care of this right now." And I'm like, oh my goodness. So, I get put on a pair of shorts and t-shirt, and I'm walking down with my wallet and stuff like that. I get to the front desk and they said, yes, can I help you? And I said, yeah, somebody just called my room about my credit card. And no one. It took a little while, but I figured it out. Yeah, I knew it was, okay, I got, and one time I got here in Toronto, the guys, Jack Tunney used to, when the guys used to come to town, he used to book a block of rooms at the old Howard Johnson's here by the airport, so that all the guys had, stayed at the same place and can, commute together, the guys that rode together and all that sort of stuff. And essentially located right by the airport. And also Howard Johnson's had a 24-hour restaurant, so the guys could eat and stuff like that. Whatever they wanted. So after a show at Maple Leaf Gardens, we're in the restaurant eating, myself, Elio, the guy who basically got me hired by Jack, and we're just sitting there, and we get the bill, and the bill comes, and we're going, $78. What the heck did we have? You know what I mean? He said, oh, that gentleman said you're paying for his stuff over there. And okay, you know what? What the heck,
Yep.
Anyway.
That's great. And the D'Lo thing is right. Didn't he tie his shoes together while they were wrestling and he didn't even know it?
That's what I heard from D'Lo. Yeah, I wasn't fortunate enough to be the referee for that match, but man, I wouldn't be able to hold it. I wouldn't be able to control myself. I'd be laughing my butt off.
If I remember correctly, I think D'Lo's like, oh, I'm pretty nervous now or something. He's like, all right, yeah, I'll calm you down or something. So then he started messing with him, and he had no idea. He's like, look at your shoes. So then he goes, are you calm now? Are you ready? Or whatever. He's like, yeah, all right. Like, it's like kind of loosen him up a bit.
Yeah, exactly. He was a calming influence for everybody, and he was. Oh my goodness, he was so good. He was just so good. I remember one time, there was a debuting wrestler up here in Montreal by the name of Carl Leduc. He was the nephew of Joe Leduc. Mm-hmm. And it was his first match, and he was wrestling John Bradshaw Layfield when he had the cowbell and the whole bit. Excuse me. So they wanted to put the kid over. He's in his home province, a town of Montreal. And they said to John, do you mind doing the honors for this kid? John's like, no. He says, what do you do for finish? And then he says, I don't have one. He says, okay, can you just do a small package? And he says, I don't know how to do that. And John, pardon me? He says, I don't know how to do the small package. So he calls me over. I'm riffing the match, right? He goes, Jimmy, small package me. And I said, pardon me? He says, small package me. I said, here? And yeah. He says, do it. So I small package him, and as I small package him, he's looking up at this is how you do it. You hook the arm around the neck, and you hook the arm in the leg, and blah blah blah. And okay, so we go out to the ring. John basically had to put himself in a small package. But one of the problems that the Carl had was again, he was so green, for lack of a better term. He couldn't run the ropes properly. Like he would run to the ropes, kind of slow down, lean on them, and run the other way. You know what I mean? So the next night in Ottawa, I'm reffing his match again, but he's wrestling Owen this time. And of course, Chief Jay Strongbow says to Owen, he says, okay, take care of the kid, but whatever you do, don't have him run the ropes because it looks like crap. So they lock up, they go into a headlock. And of course, Owen goes, shoot me off crisscross. So they go into this crisscross, and this poor guy's trying to do his thing with the rope. And Owen's just going slowly jogging his way across the ring and having fun. And oh my goodness, it was just like that the whole match. Again, it was me just trying not to laugh throughout the entire match.
Right, yeah, that's got to be rough. I've heard of him like having purposely like the worst match ever on a house show just to pop the boys in the back, or like put somebody in a headlock for like 5 minutes just to make a joke and mess around with like Dustin Rhodes or something.
Yeah, I've told this story before, but I'm going to tell you as well. One of my favorite moments ever was a tag match with Jeff Jarrett and Owen Hart versus Edge and Christian, and this was in Germany on our European tour. And Owen had found a foreign object to use that when I got distracted, he would use it behind my back and, draw in the other baby face while he's using, getting heat. And, he'd pass it over to Jeff. And when I went and checked Owen, I'd go back to the baby face and go, hey, he has nothing. And then, he passed it to Jeff. And of course it's been passed back. Now I go check Jeff and there's nothing. And then he's doing other little stuff like he's splashing Edge off the bottom rope. and covering his ankles, going count. You know what I mean? So I'm going 1, 2, and Edge is barely kicking out. And so they're having fun. And we get to the spot where I finally catch him with the object, and he's got it tucked under his arm like this. So I'm telling him to raise his arm. Raise your arm. I said, no, raise your arm. No, you've got until 5. If you don't raise your arm, I'm going to disqualify you. So I start counting. I get to 4. He lifts his arm, and this red napkin comes floating out. And I'm looking at it float down to the ground, and I'm like, you know, they knew what it was. And, you know, Jeff's acting like, oh my goodness, he got caught, you know, and the big face, see, I told you he had something. And I'm looking, I didn't know what to do. So I just reached out, I picked it up. I said, were you using this? And I'm trying to give him crap like he's using an actual foreign object.
Yeah.
You know, I said, yeah, I should disqualify you, but you know, and then I go to throw the thing out of the ring. And of course it's a napkin, so it's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
It's floating around. But anyways, so we were having a little fun with that. And then they went into the comeback and they went into a 4-way, and then they got Owen and Jeff in the corners down low, and Edge and Christian got up on the second ropes, and they're looking up at the crowd, you know, ready to do the 10 punches. But as they're looking out at the crowd going, hey, I got these guys, both of them reach down in their trunks and they put these red nose, you know, red ball noses on there.
Yeah.
So as they're looking up and down, Edge and Christian look down and they go, oh my goodness. So they start punching, and as they're punching, the red balls fall off. Right. Yep. So I pick them up and I put them in my pockets. I still have them to this day.
Oh, wow.
Those
awesome.
those two little red rubber. Yep. I still have them to this day.
Look at Owen. Even when he's got to have a match, he's even joking around and making
fun. My goodness.
Having fun.
Well, house shows, you know, he made it fun for everybody.
Love that. Now, you were kind of in the middle, completely off topic, completely another thing, but another kind of highlight of your career, or something that probably gets brought up to you so much, is when Kurt Angle and Daniel Pewter had their little incident. Ooh. And I guess maybe Kurt didn't know Pewter's background, but he's got an MMA background. He had him in a Kimura, and he had him in that double wrist lock, and he's gonna probably break his arm if he keeps going. But you smartly, because he had his shoulders down, you smartly quickly get the 3 count. Kurt wins and get the hell out of there, right?
Yeah, that was again. They did that challenge. I guess it was called, what do they call them? Burpees. We used to call them squat thrusts, or whatever. They had the challenge, and you know, I can't remember the other kid that won it. Oh my goodness, the big tall kid. Oh, see, too many ref bumps. Can't remember. But anyways,
Matt Morgan, who was the big guy?
No. Oh boy.
Daniel Rodimer?
No, it wasn't even Rodimer. It was oh my goodness.
I'm forgetting.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. But anyways, so he wins the challenge, and he has an impromptu little wrestling match with Kurt. You know, the kid's blown up now, and Kurt, Olympic gold medalist, ties him up in knots. You know, here it is. Here we go. We're done. And unbeknownst to us, Kurt decides to look out at the rest of the guys. Anybody else want to challenge your Olympic gold medalist? And of course, Pewter puts his hand up, and we're going. I look at Al Snow, who's in the ring with us, and Al looked at me, and I look. I go, what do we do? Al went, it's Kurt. What are you going to do? He's going to do whatever he wants, right? So, okay, this is an impromptu wrestling match. So they get into it, and they, you know, work their way into the corner. And I'm not an MMA expert by any means. But when I saw the hammerlock in the Kimura, I knew it wasn't good. And I'm like, oh my goodness, how do we get out of this? And of course, I've got my earpiece in, but nobody's talking. And all I could hear is what's going on out there. And we're like, you know, Kurt's going into business for himself here, you know?
Yeah.
And so then they fell, you know, with Kurt landing on top, but still in the Kimura.
Yeah. And
for some reason, it just go down and count. I counted 3, even though maybe at 2 he rolled his shoulder. It doesn't matter. Whatever. I wasn't stopping. I was counting 3 at this point. So I counted 3, and it was just. It wasn't like I thought. Okay, the only thing I was thinking is, how do we get out of this? I didn't think, oh, first opportunity I get, I'm going to count 3. They just fell, and it was a reaction more than anything. And after the whole thing was done, you know, they got up, they got face to face. Kurt cut a promo on him. They went to the back. I went to the back. I went through Gorilla where Joe Briscoe was. He looked at me. He winked and gave me a little bit of a thumbs up. Then I went down and I ran into Fit Finley. And Fit, you know, brought me to the side. He said, who told you to count? And I said, nobody, Fit. I just did it. he said, well, you probably saved his arm because there was no way Kurt was going to give up to that kid. And I was like, ooh.
Right.
And then since then, of course, he had to endure a little bit of ribbing after that. Welcome to the locker room, kid.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
By a bunch of the guys. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Kind of I don't know. Kirk went into business for himself, but Pewter went into business for himself too, and he realized, like, come on, man, you can't do stuff like that.
No, I see, and I don't think he was at the time wise enough to realize that. Listen, this is a veteran, a gold medalist, and somebody who technically had a broken freaking neck. So
yeah, but it's just great timing by you. Like, oh crap, something's gonna happen here. 1, 2, 3, it's over. Kurt wins.
Yeah,
and get out of there, because even the fans in attendance weren't really sure of what happened. They just know Kurt won,
right.
And a lot of people didn't notice the Kimura. So it was one of those things where it's like good, quick thinking on your part.
Well, thank you. Again, it wasn't like, okay, I'm looking for the pin here. It just, I took advantage of an opportunity, and thank goodness it worked out.
Now, as we head towards the wind down, we head towards the finish. Who was like some of your favorite guys to work with? I know you mentioned Edge, obviously Undertaker, Eddie. Who were some other guys that you love working with? Maybe more some of the old school guys, some of the old school names.
Oh, Piper was always great. Like I loved working with Roddy because you never knew what to expect from him. It wasn't like nowadays where the match is planned out start to finish, and then we're going to do it. It was like back then. It was like we're going to feel it out there, react to what if the crowd reacts, we're going to keep going. If they don't react, see. And I've been blessed to go through those different eras. Loved working with John Cena when he was in his prime. Like you said, Eddie. Shawn Michaels, Hunter, my goodness. So man, I got to work with guys like the Bulldogs and tag teams like, the Rougeos and I love working with London and Spanky and Paul London, and stuff like that. Joey Mercury and John Morrison. Getting to work with tag teams like that, and oh my goodness! Again, I mentioned Owen. I was fortunate enough to get to work with Mr. Perfect. Oh my goodness, Kurt Hennig. Oh man, I've been blessed. Now that I think about it, it's amazing. I look around my room here. Look at Kurt Angle. I'm looking at pictures of them. Oh, love JBL. Oh my goodness, working with JBL when in his J.R. Ewing phase was phenomenal. It was just so much fun. I look at Mick Foley, Booker T. Oh my goodness, Booker. I'm again. I don't know, Rey Mysterio. Another one of my favorite matches. Rey Mysterio and Kurt Hennig at SummerSlam. I want to say 02 was the opening match. Like one of my favorite matches that I got to ref. I can go on and on all day long.
What was your favorite era? I mean, you were there, obviously, 22 years. You're there for the golden era of the Hogan era. You were there for the Bret Hart era. You're there for, obviously, the New Generation era, which was, I guess, a little bit of downturn. But then you're there for the Attitude era. You're there for the Ruthless Aggression. What was your kind of favorite era to be a part of in the WWF?
Oh, my goodness. I want to say, I hate to throw any era below the other because the golden era was absolutely amazing. I mean, like we talked about it earlier, larger than life characters. Does it get any bigger than guys like Hogan and Andre and Piper and Orndorff? God bless him. We lost him this week. And guys of that ilk. But then that Attitude era, was just a different time, and guys were having fun, and guys were starting to find themselves, and yeah, it's a toss-up between maybe Attitude Era, or maybe even Ruthless Aggression, because Ruthless Aggression is where we got the Austins, and we got, speaking of favorite people to work, Austin, Rock, Cena, that kind of stuff. So I think I enjoyed that era more. I want to say Attitude/Ruthless Aggression, only because I started to feel more comfortable doing what I was doing then. You know what I mean? I had learned more by then and was able to adapt better. I felt if I was during the golden era, if I was as experienced as I was during the Attitude Era / Ruthless Aggression era, I could have enjoyed that era even more.
Right.
Not saying I didn't, but you see what I'm saying. I could have
Mhm.
appreciated it more.
With you, I know you also have the book, the 3 Count, right? You also
Yes.
have. Tell us a little bit about the book.
I wrote that a few years ago. It's called The 3 Count: My Life in Stripes as a WWE Referee. So it just basically chronicles a lot of what I told you today,
Yep.
my journey through WWE and all those years, and a little bit afterwards, and how I got into broadcasting afterwards, and just me telling some stories along the way, and tried to make it as fun as possible, also telling my story as well.
Nice. Now, what else are you up to? I know you said you got some things on the pike. Anything you're able to talk about?
I wish I could disclose right now. Right now, everything's kind of kept close to the vest. I can't really say anything right now, but there are some projects in the work that we're looking at, possibly making a return somewhere. Let's just put it that way. Until things get clarified, I really can't say anything at this point. But trust me, when it does happen, John, you'll be one of the first to find out.
Nice. As far as ref and rants, that's going to be keep going strong. You're going to keep that going.
Yeah, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, and like I said, everybody's fair game. I just find it funny that 4 days a week, the subject usually revolves around WWE, and I don't get as much heat as I do when the one day I critique one little thing from AEW. All of a sudden, I'm getting bombarded. I'm dude, I'm just pointing out one little thing. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like today's rant. I'll give you an example for this week where I said about AEW Dynamite, which I enjoyed. I thought it was fun. I thought it was a good show. I just would have wished they held off on the physicality between Cody Rhodes and Malachi Black a little longer and let that story play out a little bit more. Do you know what I'm saying? Maybe here's something, like a lot of people like to say, if I had the pencil, have the lights go out on Cody, have him come back on. Maybe he gets taken out again this week by Malachi Black, who appears in the ring. Have that happen once, maybe 2 more times. And then it looks like it's going to happen again. The lights go out. The lights come back up. Mordecai Black's in the ring, but Cody's gone. Whereas Cody, lights go out. They're back on. Cody nails him with something.
Right.
You know what I mean? And now you're off to the races. Give it time. I just feel that sometimes AEW tends to rush things a little bit. Just take your time. Let the story build. Let me want to see that physicality.
Yes. Even the Omega Adam Page thing I noticed, it was funny. It's like, okay, it's over with, but then Omega comes back in the ring, and then they after they already had the pull apart, then he comes back and they have another segment. I was like, oh my God, that wasn't needed. If you're going to do that, either do it the next week or do it another. It felt like, I don't know, it felt like they rushed that. Like, why did he need to come back in the ring and do that?
No, exactly. It didn't need to be done that way. I thought it was done, like you said, backwards.
Yep.
Anyway. It's little things. Don't get me wrong. Again, and people see that as, oh, you're just crapping on AEW because they're not. No, I want them to succeed, and I just felt that it could have been done differently, which would have made it more exciting for me.
I think if they succeed, it's good for everybody because there'll be more wrestling and more people will be interested in wrestling, and
exactly.
It just helps out everybody associated with the business. It helps out.
Exactly.
Now, where can everybody find you? All your social media, your plugs, and everything else you got going on.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Jimmy Korderas, on Instagram at Real Jimmy Korderas. I had to put the real in front of it because it wouldn't let me do at Jimmy Korderas. I don't know why. Maybe somebody else is out there.
They stole your name. Wow.
I guess so. And then, of course, on social media, former WWE referee Jimmy Korderas on Facebook as well. And like you said, I have my ref and rants daily from Monday to Friday every day. I try to be, like I said, honest, but have fun with it as well. And you can, like I said, you can get your ref and rant t-shirts at prowrestlingtees.com/Jimmy the Ref. And maybe one day we'll get the mugs out there too. I mean, like my wife had these special made for me, but now I'm thinking about that. That'd be cool. Kind of maybe put those out there as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Jimmy, thank you so much for all the time today. Really appreciate it.
No, my pleasure. Thanks for having me on. And please stay safe out there in Jersey. And like you said, just incredible, buddy. Miss you.
Yes. Jimmy, thank you so much. Appreciate all the time tonight.
Thank you.